Om Swastiastu. Hello everyone. In this video, I will explain about metal alloys, their structure and strengthening by heat treatment from the book Manufacturing Engineering and Technology 6th edition. Metal properties such as strength, ductility, hardness, and toughness depend on their composition, structure, and heat treatment history. Heat treatment allows us to modify a metal's microstructure to improve formability, machinability, or strength. In figure 4.1, you can see a gear with induction hardened teeth showing how surface heat treatment can improve wear resistance and durability. Pure metal are rarely used in engineering because their properties are limited. By adding other elements, we form alloys which provide improved strength, hardness, and corrosion resistance. There are three main alloy structures: solid solution, intermetallic compounds, and two-phase systems. Figure 4.3 shows example of two-phase alloy microstructure. In part A, the small dotted areas represent fine particles of a second phase distributed throughout the grains. In part B, larger regions of the second phase are shown in green, forming distinct grain. This two-phase structure strengthen the metal by blocking dislocation movement and improving hardness. In a substitutional solid solution, solid atoms replace solvent atoms. For example, zinc atom replacing copper in brass. In an interstitial solid solution, small atoms like carbon occupy spaces between larger atoms, such as in steel, where carbon fits into iron's crystal lattice. Both types follow the Hume-Rothery rules, which determine whether two elements can form a stable solid solution. Intermetallic compounds are ordered structure of two metals, such as nickel aluminide or titanium aluminide. They are strong but brittle. In contrast, two-phase systems contain two solid phases with different compositions. For instance, a lead-copper alloy. Phase diagrams describe how temperature and composition affect the phases in an alloy. Figure 4.5 shows the copper-nickel binary phase diagram. Because copper and nickel have similar atomic sizes and structures, they are completely soluble in each other in both liquid and solid states. The upper curve is the liquidus line, where the alloy is fully liquid, and the lower one is the solidus line, where it becomes completely solid. Between these lines, both liquid and solid phases coexist during cooling. For instance, a 50% nickel alloy begins to solidify at the liquidus and finishes at the solidus. This diagram helps us understand how composition and temperature affect solidification, which is crucial for processes like casting and welding. Figure 4.6 compares the mechanical properties of copper-nickel and copper-zinc alloy as the alloying element content increase. We can see that adding nickel to copper increases both strength and hardness, while maintaining relatively good ductility. On the other hand, adding zinc to copper, forming brass, also increases strength, but the ductility drops more sharply at higher zinc level. This figure demonstrates how different alloying elements can significantly influence the balance between strength and formability, guiding material selection for engineering applications. Another important concept is the eutectic systems, shown in figure 4.7 for lead-tin alloys. At 61.9% tin and 183 degrees Celsius, the alloy melts completely. This is called the eutectic point. Because of its low melting temperature, this composition is widely used in soldering, where thermal damage to component must be minimized. The iron-carbon system is fundamental to understanding steels and cast irons. Pure iron exists in several crystal forms: ferrite, a body-centered cubic structure, soft and magnetic; austenite, a face-centered cubic structure; non-magnetic and ductile, cemented or Fe3C, a very hard and brittle compound. The phase diagram in figure 4.8 show how these phases form depending on carbon content and temperature. When steel with 0.77% carbon is cooled slowly, austenite transfer into ferrite and cemented at 727 degrees Celsius. This resulting layer structure is called perlite, as shown in figure 4.11. If the cooling rate or carbon content change, we can produce other microstructures such as martensite, bainite, and sphaeroidite. Alloying elements like nickel and chromium can shift the eutectoid temperature and compositions. Cast iron contains between 2.1 and 4.5% carbon that are classified into several types: gray iron with graphite flakes, ductile iron with nodular graphite or higher toughness, white iron rich in cementite, hard but brittle, malleable iron, heat-treated white iron with rosette-shaped graphite, compacted graphite iron with short grounded graphite flakes. The microstructure in figure 4.13 clearly shows these different graphite shapes. Figure 4.12 shows the iron-carbon phase diagram modified to include the formation of graphite, which is important in cast irons. Unlike steels, cast iron contains higher carbon contents, typically above 2%, allowing carbon to appear as graphite instead of iron carbide, depending on cooling rate and composition. Slow cooling, or the presence of elements like silicon, promotes graphite formations, leading to gray or ductile iron, while rapid cooling forms cementite, resulting in white iron. This figure helps explain how controlling solidification conditions determine whether the microstructure becomes soft and machinable or hard and brittle. Heat treatment alters the microstructure by heating and cooling control rates. Common phases formed include perlite, is alternating ferrite and cementing layers, sphaeroidite, rounded cemented particle that improves toughness, bainite, fine ferrite cementite mixture with good strength and ductility, martensite, very hard but brittle tetragonal structure formed by rapid quenching, tempered martensite, reheated martensite with improved toughness. These transformations are visualized using time-temperature transformation diagram. The figure 4.17 illustrates a time-temperature transformation diagram or TTT diagram. For electric steel, it shows how the microstructure of austenite changes over time at different temperatures during cooling. If the steel is cooled slowly through the nose of the curve, it forms perlite. Faster cooling produces bainite, and very rapid quenching bypasses the curve entirely, forming martensite. The diagram helps engineers select the right cooling rate to achieve desired hardness, strength, and ductility. In practice, it is a key tool for designing heat treatment process like quenching and tempering. Hardenability refers on how deeply a steel can be hardened by quenching. It depends on carbon content, grain size, and alloying elements. In the Jomini and quench test shown in figure 4.20a, a heated steel bar is quenched at one end while the other end cools slowly. In figure 4.20b shows that hardness decreases with distance from the quench end. Steels like 4340 have greater hardenability, meaning they remain hard deeper into the material. Unlike steels, non-ferrous alloys do not undergo the same phase transformation. that are strengthened by precipitation hardening, also known as edge hardening. The example is aluminum copper paste diagram shows that around 4.5% copper, the alloy forms copper Al2 precipitates. The process involves 3 steps. First, solution treatment at high temperature. Second, rapid quenching. And third, aging at an intermediate temperature to form precipitates. Figure 4.22 illustrates how yield strength increased with time and temperature during aging, but drop again when overage. Figure 4.21 shows the precipitation hardening process in the aluminum copper alloy system. In part A, the paste diagram indicates that around 4.5% copper forms the compound copper Al2, which is responsible for strengthening. Parts B and C illustrates how the microstructure changes during heat treatment. First, the alloy is solution treated at high temperature to dissolve copper atoms, then quench into retain a supersaturated solid solution, and finally age so that fine copper aluminum 2 precipitates form and increase strength. This figure explains how controlled heat treatment can transform a soft aluminum alloy into a much stronger edge-hardened material. In many applications, we only need to harden the surface of a component while keeping the core tough. This process called case hardening. Common methods include carburizing, carbonitriding, cyaniding, nitriding, flame hardening, and induction hardening. Each method differs in the type of element diffused into the surface and the temperature used. You can see this summarized in table 4.1, which lists the added elements, procedures, and typical application for each method. Annealing is a heat treatment process used to soften metals, restore ductility, and relieve internal stresses. There are 3 main types: full annealing, where metals is heated above the critical temperatures and cooled slowly inside the furnace; process annealing, down below the critical temperature to improve ductility after cold working; stress relief annealing, used to remove residual stresses from welding or machining. Schematic temperature time curve can be used here to illustrate the difference among this process. Heat treatment requires specialized furnace with precise temperature and atmosphere control. Batch furnace include box and car bottom types, while continuous furnace use belts or rollers for high production rates. Salt bed or fluidized bed furnace allow rapid and uniform heating. Controlled atmosphere prevent oxidation and decarburization. Quenching systems use water, oil, or polymer solutions depending on the required cooling rate. Inside, it is important to minimize distortion and cracking using heating or quenching by using uniform shapes and gradual temperature changes. Residual stress can be reduced by tempering or stress relief annealing. The choice of material and heat treatment methods depend on the desired mechanical properties and cost considerations. Simulation and hardenability data, such as Jomini curve, helps engineer design efficient process and reduce manufacturing defects. To summarize, the structure and composition of metal alloys, combined with proper heat treatment, determine their mechanical performance. By understanding paste diagrams and microstructural transformations, we can engineer metals that meet specific strength, hardness, and ductility requirements. Heat treatments remain one of the most powerful tools in material engineering. This is the reference that I used to make this video and this presentation. And that is all of this video. Thank you for watching. Om Santi 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 Om.